Hello, audience. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. It's the Unitate podcast again. With me is Chioma Aninwe, PRO Yusosa, obviously my co-host. We've done more than 22 to 25 podcasts together now. Our guest is the current Vice Chancellor of is that the Abdulkadir AKUM University in Minna? Am I correct?
It's called Abdulkadir Kure University, Minna.
Thank you.
AKUM. Kure.
AKUM for short. The current Vice
short.
Chancellor, AKUM University, Minna. He's an Ososan. He finished from Federal Government College Warri. When I met him, I know his 1985 set. I met him at the 60th anniversary of the Warri Alumni Association. Very interesting event in Abuja. Thank you for your presence. I'm really grateful that you're able to attend. I'll just give our audience a brief history about you. His full names are Professor Mohammed Aliyu Paiko. He is a professor of nutritional biochemistry. He's also the Vice Chancellor, again, of Abdulkadir Kure University, Minna, with over 25 years of teaching, research, and academic leadership experience. He earned his PhD in aquatic animal nutrition and biotechnology from University Sains Malaysia. He received a research fellowship and completed a Post-Doctoral Fellowship at University Putra, also in Malaysia, where he also serves as a visiting research professor. Throughout his career, he has held several key administrative roles, including the Deputy Vice Chancellor Academic, Director of Academic Planning, and Chairperson of multiple research and ethnic committees. Nationally and internationally, he has contributed to science and innovation policy, research review, as well as academic development, including collaborations with the National Universities Commission and the African Academy of Science. Professor Paiko is widely published. He has received numerous international fellowships and awards, supervises postgraduate research, and is passionate about advancing entrepreneurship, innovation, youth and women empowerment. Thank you for honoring us with your presence. I know you've just finished a very crucial meeting of Vice Chancellors. We're not going to take much of your time. We're going to go straight into it. I'll allow Chioma introduce herself and ask the first question. Chioma.
Thank you, sir, for having our time today. And I was saying that I know that it has taken you a lot to be here. So thank you for your time. I am Chioma Aninwe, Publicity Secretary Yusosa, class of 1997, FGC Abuloma. And professionally, I'm a communications and strategist. My background is communications, public relations, and helping people build brand reputation. So I'm happy to be the one co-anchoring with David.
Thank you, Chioma. What inspired you to pursue university leadership? What advice would you give to aspiring academic leaders? What keeps you motivated in this role? And what achievements during your tenure are you most proud of?
Thank you, David. And that's quite a mouthful. First of all, thank you for the very elaborate introduction and the very kind words about my achievements in academia. For a start, I don't take it for granted that you have chosen me to host on this your podcast. I don't really know what motivated you, but whatever it is, I'm very happy to be on the podcast. Academia, yes. If you attended Federal Government College Warri, especially those of us in the class of 1985, like I was telling you when we earlier discussed during the 50th anniversary, it was really an honor for me to, all the way from Niger State, to be sent to Federal Government College Warri. It was a very, very rare event. Those days you travel over 500-600 kilometers from Niger State to Warri. It was unheard of. A very young person, never knew anyone, and I was transported all the way there. So I would say the basic foundations for me to venture into the academics, started from FGC Warri. That school taught us so many things: leadership, harmony, being Nigerians. I celebrate being an Ususan because I consider it one of the most important national monuments we have for national unity. Apart from the flag, apart from the national item. Before you get to NYC, we were caught very young. The Ususa example is a place where people from different backgrounds are captured and they are brought together and to be able to behave as one entity. I think the exemplification of one Nigeria actually started from there, in my own opinion. Because here I was, Ishekiri, Urobo, Yoruba, Igbos, myself, Gwagi, from Niger State. I met Kanuris. I met so many tribes. And when you come to that school, you meet people dressed either in the school uniform, white, or we are dressed in our body house uniforms. I was in National House, it was red. And I have carried on that particular exercise throughout my life. I don't like any type of shirt now except check shirt. If I was to wear long sleeve, now you see it's the resemblance of what we used to wear in those school days. So that environment of the Federal Government College, the way it was set up, our hostels, the way we behaved early in the morning, it taught you how to be a proper Nigerian. You do your duties early in the morning. Either you go to the class and sweep, or you do some other morning duties in the hostel. Then you attend dining hall together, you eat together. Exemplification of leadership actually started from there. You see, when we go to the dining hall, you see our house captains, class captains. They are the ones that lead the prayer for you to eat. They are the ones to lead when we're going for sports. Even when you go to the classroom area during prep and to ring the bell after prep, so it was a complete package of how to behave as a Nigerian, in an environment where people are multi-ethnic, multi-religious, so that you take every person you come across, male or female, as your brother or your sister. So this is the way it operated. So I think the leadership training, the training for you to be a proper Nigerian, to integrate into society, how you should live your daily chores, how you should arrange and plan your days, go to school, during the time for eating, during the time for classes, during the time for sports. The whole school was arranged, to give you that sense of belonging amongst every other tribe. So I would say the whole excellence started from there. And then in class, when we do our examinations, we read together, we pass exams, and at the end of the day, our scores are computed. And the competition, end of every term, as they used to call it then, not semester as it is now. The first three in class, your class master will come, announce the best three. And like I told you in our previous engagement we did in Abuja, at the end of when I finished Form 5, my class master, he announced to the class, I was the most competitive student of the set. I cannot remember in the D set of the 85 graduation set, I cannot remember one person taking first twice. Here I was, the first time I came from my primary school, I was always one of the top 3 in my primary school. But when I got to FGC Warri, from first term, Form 1, I was position 26 out of 36. But by the time we finished in my Form 5, something and prize giving ceremony, I've forgotten what they call it. Speech and prize giving ceremony.
Yeah.
I came overall second. We used to be in a class of between 32 to 36. I remember in the D class, we were between 34 and 36 in number. And so we had 5 arms, A to E. So we were roughly about 140 something. So remember, from my first time, we were just ranked against ourselves, just 36 people. I came 26 out of 36 first time. But overall, when we wrote our mock examination, they used the mock to score us against all of us. I came second overall. There were 2 sisters in that set. The person who was the best in our set was a lady. She was in the A class. She was first. I was in the D class. I was second. The younger sister or the elder sister to that one in A either was in E or C. I cannot remember, but she came third. So just imagine the trajectory. So academia was already infused into us. In the 80s, going to university for people in northern Nigeria was like a new thing. You had to really urge people to go to school. So when I made this very gradual but sure ascendance from lower parts of my class to tops, the next best thing was you needed to go to university. And I can assure you, almost all of us in that set, almost all of us, about 90-something% ended up going to universities. It is later I got to know very few percentage of us had to, go through the Polytechnic or College of Education system to go to university. But vast majority of us, by the way, to show you how good that set was, over 80 to 90% are either in the UK, in Canada, or in the US. So even Jackpot syndrome then was not about going to look for opportunities, it was for excellent people to be taken to go abroad. So we had excellence. So given this background, you can now see why academia was the next best thing. Unfortunately, when I went to ABU, I say unfortunately, because I was derailed. When you graduated by the year 1990, when I finished my first degree in ABU in biochemistry, it used to be considered like a misnomer if you end up going to teach in the university, because there was no money in the academia that time. So academia was like a place for people who were not really that smart. So the in thing then between 89, 90 to the early 90s was for you to get a multinational company, either Shell, Chevron, or you go to NNPC or Central Bank or any other multinational. So at the end of the day, if you were really very hot after your graduation, you were targeting any of the multinationals because they paid better. The work ethics was good. You had opportunities of travel around the world, and you had the opportunity of showcasing your own innovation in a private sector setting. So that was what attracted me. So I attended interview, and nationally over 500 and something people vying for Nigerian Tobacco Company then. It is called BAT Nigeria now. So I was taken and I was given a job of an area leaf manager. So I had to go into the private sector first. I spent about 7 years. The job was too hectic. But along the line, I just didn't enjoy it because it was just too demanding and I was not happy. So I left. Eventually, I did a detour back to what my classmates, my friends used to say. Because my friends used to tell me, even when we attend class, except I explain certain things, mathematics, I had this flair of explaining things that teachers have taught us in class. Yeah. So my classmates, when I came out from Nigerian Tobacco Company, after about 6, 7, 8 years, they were like, the best place for you is academia. So that rang into my head. I'm like, okay, let's go back there. So when I came out from the academia and from the tobacco company, I now ventured into a state government job, which I did part of what sponsored my master's degree in Federal University of Technology, Minna. And after I finished that, I was like, now, having done my first and second degrees in Nigeria, I have to go abroad. And so I saw opportunity of fellowship. I also applied. And again, that's a factor of how much intellectual capacity you have for any university abroad to be able to identify your intellect and say, come and do your PhD. They will sponsor the fellowship, which will pay for the whole of your PhD work, to give you the whole of your research grants, and also pay you some stipends that you can keep your family. So this is how I now went to Malaysia, did my PhD. I was already employed there before a vice chancellor in Nigeria was looking for, startup for his university. Late Professor Kolo of IBB University came there and recruited me back from University Sains Malaysia back to IBB University. So this has been the journey. So USOSA, or Federal Government College, was what set the benchmark and the ground for me to really venture into academics.
Wow. That is a story of starting from, I think the journey started in 1985 up to present day right now.
Yes.
So for our audience, again, you see how concentrating on one thing, persistence, hard work leads you to greater heights. Prof, you mentioned diversity during when you were speaking. How is your university improving diversity at all levels? What barriers do you see to inclusion that you believe still needs addressing? And how do you create equitable opportunities for both students and staff?
Excellent. You see, probably part of the story I was telling has not really grasped or make you to grasp how really intense the FGC example made me to be fully integrated as not only a proper Nigerian, but a global citizen. Remember when I went to Malaysia, my university, as at the time I was doing my doctorate, between 2006 to 2009, 2010, my university had students from over 82 countries. Wow. It's in Malaysia, but as at that time, it grew later when I finished my PhD. The diversity of University Sains Malaysia grew to about 120 countries, meaning they had students from almost 3/4 of the world. And my humble background at FGC, gave me this leverage. By the time I found myself as a fellow, PhD fellow in FGC Warri, I met people from India, from US, UK, Bangladesh. In Africa here, over 30-something countries in Africa, we're all there. So because of this diversity, this being very, very comfortable to be amongst diverse, religion, diverse tribes, was really very easy for me to integrate. One, I also, apart from the academia, I was also engaged in also social inclusion issues. I was eventually the president of Nigerian Diaspora Malaysia, which was a mix of Igbos, Hausas, Yorubas, just like we have in Nigeria. That time, the influx of people leaving Nigeria to go to Malaysia was the catchy area then. And so we had this organization. In the university system, there was what we call the Postgraduate Students Association. I became the academic secretary of the Postgraduate Student Association. And that took, imagine 82 countries, mostly postgraduate students. You had to really campaign. If not for this, being very, very familiar with the grounds back in FGC Warri, I don't think I would have had the chance, to reach across to Indians, people from Arab League and the rest of them. So this gave me a very, very good opportunity as a training ground, so that when I found myself in the diaspora, in diversity, it was really nothing. So back home in Nigeria, by the time I got to IBB University, Lapai, like I told you, Lapai is actually a state university. And the proliferation of state universities in Nigeria actually started the mass, registration of state universities, private universities, the kickstart was from the year 2000. So from 2000, 2005, IBB University came up, and then so many other universities. So there was this tendency, for every university, state university, to be localized. But we were very lucky. Some of our, like I told you, the Vice Chancellor then, 2010 to 2015, late Professor Kolo, he had this flair of going abroad to go and recruit some Nigerians that were already abroad. Right. And so that was what brought some of us back. So you see, some of these, our leaders they have this issue of inclusion. So by the time I got to IBB University Lapai, I saw that he had gone all the way to Ilorin. Some of those people who had issues of ASU and were laid off, he brought them. He went to Ibadan, he went to Lagos, anywhere he could get academics across Nigeria. He went all across, and he even went abroad. That was what brought us. He went to Australia, came to Malaysia. So there was already this drive, and it's already my hallmark, someone who is really very inclusive. So this was how IBB University Lapai was built as a very inclusive university. In fact, he even recruited staff like they used to do in FGC days. Those days, our teachers in agriculture, mathematics, I remember in FGC Warri, agriculture, mathematics, they were from India. So Professor Kolo had also gone to India and recruited staff. So we had foreign lecturers from as far as India. So you can see the inclusion, which I was already used to in FGC, which I went to participate in Malaysia. I came and met it in Lapai. I became a hallmark, and Lapai became a melting point of different cultures, different ideas. Of course, that's exact exemplification of what a university should be. Ideas from different universities, different cultures, different backgrounds, and is what molded some of us for us to rise. And I wrote through all this from lecturer 1. I became a deputy director of research, became a HOD, leading diverse people, students and staff. And so when I was given my own university, it is only very natural for me to follow through. So now answering the second question, how am I ensuring? I'm following in the footsteps of what I enjoyed from FGC Warri across to Malaysia, and then back to what was enshrined in IBB University, where I actually spent a lot of my academic life, over 12 years, and I also enshrined it. So when we advertised and wanted to recruit staff, in Lapai, the admission ratio is like 70-30, But because I have Ususa background, and I know that what makes a very good academic background is this inclusion. When I got to Abdulkadir Kure University Lapai as the Vice Chancellor, we reduced that to 60-40. So our own inclusion criteria is even very, very much higher than where I'm coming from, just to continue in that particular, objective. So I'm really very happy with the background I've had and the type of people, the places I've studied, and the kind of people I've met. And I can tell you, it is really what makes an academic environment very, very, very interesting.
Chairman.
Very interesting indeed. Thank you so much, sir, for this insights through, it's stories like this that make us know that we are on the right path with this. For anybody that listens to it will learn from it, and also, even if they're not on the right path, they will adjust themselves and align with what the Unity School taught us. So I'm really happy that you gave us this insight.
Good evening.
Yeah, David.
Yes. I think.
No, unfortunately, I had a meeting for 4.
And your network is not particularly very
prior
good.
to this time, so I would
take your
your
lead.
permission and Prof. Zone join the other meeting while you continue, please, sir.
Take care,
you.
Chairman.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
And it was really a pleasure meeting you, sir.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
So can I
meeting
pay a
you
visit
also.
when I'm in Niger?
Please do. Feel very free.
Good evening. All right. Prof, you know your alma mater, FGC Warri, is truly blessed. I've happened to meet quite a few personalities, even in the course of podcasting. With I don't know if the likes of Roland Ilube, who you mentioned Shell.
Yes,
he's still with Shell at the moment.
Oh, interesting.
I think he's a vice president of one of their arms now.
Oh, interesting.
I've met oracles from the 1973 set, people like Dr. Tare Biu, who happens to run the children's hospital in Wales.
Interesting.
Yes, I've met engineer Awobamshe, who got headhunted as far back as 1986. He's of the 1973 set as well. So I'm just trying to buttress your point.
Yes.
Now, I'm going to go to funding.
Yes.
Can you tell me, how does your university navigate funding challenges? What are your strategies for financial sustainability, and how do you balance affordability with maintaining quality?
Very interesting point. And this speaks directly to the establishment of my university now. I'm also from a public university, a state university too, where I spent most of my time. And also, we have seen the challenges. The truth of the matter is that most state government-owned universities in Nigeria are not well-funded. When we talk about, I'm speaking from the standards. The universities I attended in Malaysia, the one I did my postdoc and my PhD, they are ranked at least among the top 150 in the world. And so that will be the next set after those that feature on the top 100. The top 100 are those universities in the first world, the global north. And so within the global south, developing countries, you would want to see your universities ranking among the middle tier, so that at least you're performing. And then when you look at that middle tier, I hope that the best ranked university in Nigeria is around number 800 and something. And then it still speaks to about Covenant and universities like University of Lagos, FUT, Minna, ABU, all of them, they come around 900 and stuff. Wow. So for new universities like our own, we are not ranked. We are just coming up. State universities hardly even feature among these top 1,000. So don't even think about it. I'm just giving you this background so that when we're talking about funding, what funding of a university ought to be, global standard. So you go to Covenant and see what they are doing. They are totally in a world of their own in Nigeria, meaning they have gotten their funding mix right, and they are doing things to make them on that stage, global stage of top 1,000. I'm not even comparing to universities like ABU, UI, University of Ilorin, FUT, Minna. I'm not comparing to those ones. I'm saying a unique university, very small as it is, rolling out quality graduates. And if I use that as a model, you will see it's a private university. And for private university, you can only imagine what they charge as school fees, the millions. So it talks to your affordability. Now, if we have to have a public university like mine, so now what do you charge? To give you a scale of what public universities charge, it's like continuing students will pay something like 40,000, 45,000. even including the federal universities. That's the school fees. Now, if you look at what happens in a university, what you need to run a university, the basic needs. There was a governor that we had, Talba, and he said, as at that time, I think precisely about 10 years ago or so, or 15 years ago, he was saying that every student in the public university, IBB University then, is subsidized by state government to the tune of about 500,000 per annum. So it means if you spend 4 years in the university, the state government subsidizes about 2 million.
Wow.
You get my point. So funding, we had to, when I was given the challenge to now float a university, a state university, we had to do a trade-off. There was a very big argument with my council with respect to how much we should charge. So we told the council, if we go ahead to charge school fees just like other conventional public universities, it will just go down the drain, just like every other university. So we said, since we are trying to model something new, we are planning to have a university that is entrepreneurship centered.
Right.
Teach students such things, because the in thing in public universities today is entrepreneurship. We left that a long time ago, and then we're just teaching students just to attend lectures, cram, pass exams, and then when they finish, then they now have to start thinking, what do you do? The same curriculum that took time. So now National Universities Commission, that is the regulatory agency, is now saying, look, you have to incorporate, is the whole concept of the CC marks now that NUC is doing. We were in B marks, benchmark academic standard. Now we are moved to CC mark, core curriculum. So core curriculum, the CC marks which we are running now, is to embed entrepreneurship into everything you do in the university system.
Right.
If you want to be a tailor, that's the center of our university. So you want to be a tailor, you can start learning tailoring. If you want to do some drones and everything, if you want to use camera, to snap photography. No, if you want to go high tech, to do some other thing, agri-business, and every other thing that is entrepreneurial, you do it side by side with the course of study. That's the center of our university. Now, if you are doing entrepreneurship, this takes for students to spend time in studios, on farms, in laboratories, to use things like computer. You stay a long time, so you need more money. And therefore, when we were now rolling in courses, we took courses that are entrepreneurship based, or those courses that are themselves specialist areas like nursing, like public health. These are professionals that are required and are not readily available. So we went for those courses that immediately you graduate, the job is already waiting, or you can start some entrepreneurship skill to be on your own.
Yeah.
So because of this background now, that was the hallmark of our affordability, and for us to have the ability to get sustainable funding. So as we are now, even the takeoff that the state government is supposed to give us, we didn't so much as get it. But because the school fees we charge, is what we use to be able to keep the programs running. In addition,
yes,
we also see different other things. We get scholarship for our students. We go out as management, scholarship for our students. And thank God we are operating during the Renewed Hope agenda, where the NEL fund has come in, where students can go and access funding. And so the fees which we charged, like our specialist courses, people pay up to 500,000, not up to the millions that other private universities are paying,
right,
but again, not too small, like the 40, 50,000 other private and public universities are paying. So we are in the middle there, where we get substantial amount of, we are collecting substantially more than the traditional public, state, and federal universities,
right,
but not as much as the private university, because that is too high. So we are just around in the middle. So this way, we're able to keep our programs running, and people from all walks of life, do pay, because we have already shown them you have to take responsibility, some part of the responsibility, and the parents do understand with us, and we are making very, very good bargain.
So let me ask you, what role do your alumni or industry partnerships play in the funding then? Do you have a reliable alumni association that help as well to carry the university along?
We are hoping, you are forgetting, David, we are in the third year in my university.
So
we have not graduated yet. But to your point, we are making preparations. Just like the learning example I'm telling you from other universities, from IBB University Lapai, yes. What I understood from there is that there was no proper record of the graduates, and when they end up getting jobs, so that there is no proper tracking. So in keeping with that, so that we don't lose track, everything of ours in our university is digitalized. So we hope to track our students so that our alumni, when it does start, there will be a very hefty collection so that we can make them also plow back. In addition, we have made it mandatory. I've forgotten to add this. Part of the entrepreneurship drive for our students is that before you graduate, you have to fulfill two other conditions. One, whatever your course is, you must be computer literate. People take this for granted, but everything in the country now, everything around the world happens, on computers.
Absolutely.
And so even if you are studying history, you are studying Hausa or whatever, you have to register with the ICT Center to have computer education. Secondly, and most compulsorily, you must have registered an enterprise.
Okay.
You must have a company that you will register right from 100 level. We are giving them opportunities. They do this hackathon. They do all these competitions for startups. And of course, we have already started seeing some benefit. Some of our students are right now, they have won the national, and some have moved to the regional. This Huawei Academy, they do all these digital skills that they teach. Some of them have even, right now, they are in Abuja here training. Some of them have moved to the regional. That's the one, the regional competition, which will happen in South Africa, sometimes in March. And so Huawei Academy, usually if they pass from the state to regional, from the national to regional, they take them over to give them further training so that we don't even know where those students will end up. Some of them, those skills, if they are so very good, they begin to earn money immediately, even before they graduate. They are just in 200 level now, and they have already reached that level. So once they win the regional, automatically they go to China, Beijing, China, and they do the international. Once you win there, the university, the Huawei Academy will take you over, and then they will put you among one of their affiliates. So these are some of the things that gives our students that flair, and they are really, moving that space, the edge. Yeah,
it gives them the edge. Let me ask you your long-term vision over the next 5 to 7 years. Can you espouse that? And also,
you're frozen again.
Yes. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
Yes, clearly. I said a long-term vision. I had long-term vision.
Yes. What's your long-term vision? And if you were going to recruit using the Pro Unitate podcast as a tool, what distinguishes your university from others in that region?
One thing, and is that entrepreneurship skill. We have really latched onto this entrepreneurship skill as a central part of what we do. We will say, test your student based on their innovative capacity.
Right.
Forget about their academic capacity. Nigerians are very, very smart, regardless of where they come from. It's already proven, people thought the study done to show that among the smartest people on earth, Nigerians are among the top. It's really true, and I can confirm to you. Now, look, when you expose these young boys between the age of 16 to 22. You expose them to hands-on and you get them interested in anything. I'm telling you, David, they will surprise you. And it was my own curiosity that showed me this. No university up until today is doing a lot of the courses. We don't offer a lot of the courses that are available in Nollywood.
Right.
Cinematography, all this editing, all this writing of script writing. We nobody. You see, look at the issue of stand-up comedy. Would you have believed 10 years ago if they say somebody would do stand-up comedy and become a millionaire? Would you have believed? There is no school of comedy in Nigeria.
Right.
Look at the skits look at what people are doing now on TikTok.
Yes.
Our students, we expose them to it. There are people earning money using TikTok. We have exposed our students. There's so many of them.
To technology.
So people even think, people think it's Yahoo. No. But we investigated and we saw that there are a lot of opportunities, virtual, digital opportunities that students are learning using their hand phones, not even laptops. And they are becoming very good at it. So look, David, expose your students to digital skills, make them computer literate, make them fall in love with doing things virtually, and they are going to blow you away. I have done example. This is just the second year. My 200 level students, what they have already earned for me, I'm telling you, you cannot get it from all these people who do first class and they still roam the street. We don't want that kind of students in the 21st century.
So you've just touched on something I was going to ask about. How do you balance the physical infrastructure in the school with digital investments? You're investing a lot in digital. I can say that you're investing a lot in the digital world. So how do you balance that? And what sustainability initiatives are being prioritized?
Yeah, the investment of Abdulkadir Kure University in digital space is enormous. We just had, we are still concluding an MOU with a little organization that is coming. I like even, is the reason why I said I have to be on this podcast. They have given us, they came and tested some of our students. They saw that they are flared, they enjoy being on the digital scale space. And the huge investment we'll make, all that we're trying to do now is to ensure that everywhere on campus, the places where we have availability of internet is currently limited. So we are expanding so that everywhere students are, we want them to constantly to be on the internet, because we have seen how it has impacted our students quite very positively. So our investment in the digital space is very, very huge, and you only need to make the internet available. I'm telling you, over 92% of my students have Android phones, and it is sufficient for whatever it is you have to do. Even if you're doing your learning management system, online, because we are doing blended learning in some of the courses. You can do your courses wherever it is. You just drop it for them, and then on the go, they will read. In fact, you only see our library, physical library, being full only during this time because we are preparing for second semester examination. So the library is getting full for students to read, if not during the most part of the semester. Students are mostly on their handphones. If there is internet, of course, on the go, they read on the go. And you'll be very surprised how they are performing very excellently.
Absolutely. Prof, Young Usosans, 2025 set, 2026 set, going to 2030 set.
Yes.
Why should they choose your university? What opportunities are open to them? We want them to know about your university. So this is your chance to speak to them and say, come to our university.
Well, I urge them to come in droves to Abdulkadir Kure University. First of all, we don't do the traditional courses like agriculture. I don't do agriculture. Some people do soil science. We don't do that. We do 21st century courses. Even in agriculture, we do agri-business. So we don't do courses like sociology. We don't even, I graduated biochemistry. I don't have biochemistry in my university. Biotechnology, you understand? We don't do ordinary courses. Like, people are so thrilled about medicine. Do you know that nurses are more required in Nigeria? And even the metrics of the number of people to number of nurses in Nigeria, the ratio is, that metric is far lower and far alarming than that of medical doctors too. So we do those kind of things. People didn't even know that public health was a very interesting field until COVID. All the research that took up all the pandemic. So all the courses that are interesting, you go to computer science, you cyber security, all these mechatronics, engineering and engineering, all these interesting courses, robotics. These are the things we do in Abdulkadir Kure University. 1. 2, we don't bog students down too much with book, reading. We bog students that are mostly hands-on experience. They say, you teach me, I forget. I do it myself, I participate, and forever, I will always remember. So we give them hands-on experience. We are giving them opportunity to learn blended. We don't overload them, Before, you used to see students in a week, they take lectures for about 24 hours, 30 hours, 24 course units. No. Now we have lowered the number of units so that it gives them time to think, to be innovative, to be on the internet, to be able also to do all these digital skills, to hone their skills, because we consider, we at Abdulkadir Kure University, we consider that the 4 or 5 years you will do in the university studying is also the time that you should begin to hone your entrepreneurship and innovative skills. Not that other universities, until you finish, then you go to NYC, then they begin to tell you about entrepreneurship. No, it should be the university. It was one custom controller when they changed the name, not custom, what did they call them? Correctional facility. Yeah. From prisons, they now call them correctional facility. Then one professor that I cannot remember his name right now said, no, university is the first correctional facility. A young person leaving their parents, if you don't know what you want to do, you come to the university, we will correct this impression. You cannot correct this impression if you don't provide them all the opportunities to explore all the types of, they say IQ. People, we only used to test IQ in other universities. We test other intelligent code, not only intelligent quotient, we test them, the other quotients that are available, about 4, 5, or 6 of them, so that by the time you finish and you pass through Abdulkadir Kure University, you will have been able to understand what it is you want to become in life. In other universities, you have to finish first, go for NYC, and then now begin to raise your head to the ceiling and say, what do I really want to do? In Abdulkadir Kure University, you will be under no illusion. Immediately you come your first year, after 6 months or a year, you will be already find a direction for yourself. So I believe Abdulkadir Kure University is the university of the 21st century, and is where all Usosans, go into the future should want to come to.
There you go, Usosans. Yes. Your children just finishing secondary education, please direct them to have a look at the Abdulkadir Kure University, Minna. Young Usosans, this will also get to you. Have a look and go to the best, from what I can hear, emerging, innovative in technology, in technological science, and entrepreneurship.
Engineering.
Right now. Yeah. Okay. This is your opportunity now. 5 minutes to ask about TNN or Pro Unitate. Any questions you have, we'll answer them for you.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity. And also, David, to also say that it's a very wonderful thing you're doing. For me, Professor Aliyu Mohammed Paiko, I consider USUSAN, or Federal Government College, or the Pro Unitate example, as the best thing that ever happened to Nigeria. whatever it is we're going to do, from the very little steps you are taking, I believe we should do them to be able to sustain. By the way, all my 3 kids attended federal government colleges. My first son, he just finished in geology, but he attended federal government college, Minna. My daughter attended FGC New Busa, and my second daughter also, she's in FGC in Warri here in Abuja. And so, because of what the benefits that I got from this, I just couldn't resist it. All my children had to attend federal government college. And you can see, from all intent, all public schools have deteriorated. But despite the drop, you can still see USOSA is still going very, very strong. So I appreciate what you are doing to keep the USOSA life, the experience alive. And the only thing I would like to ask you is, who is underwriting this your podcast? Are you doing it pro bono, or it is a project that is in development? Because I know whatever it is you're doing requires a lot of time, a lot of resources, and of course it needs probably some support. So who is the one that is shouldering your bill?
At the moment, it's self-funding, so I'm running it basically, obviously in collaboration with USOSA, but most of it is self-funding from myself. I founded the New Nigerian, that's what TNN stands for. The New Nigerian website bridges the gap between diaspora and Nigeria. So what we try to do is bring the best of diaspora, link it up with the best in Nigeria, and see if we can create or develop projects. Some of our guests in diaspora have actually gone back to Nigeria and are thriving quite well at the moment. In terms of funding, we've decided that we're going to open spaces. So for example, my background, I don't know if I've still got you, Prof.
Freezing. Hello, David.
Yes, Prof, can you hear me? Yes, so
yes, you froze.
Oh dear. In terms of funding, we're trying to see if we can advertise for our guests who have businesses like your university now, with a small token. We can have your university logo in our background. If there's a 1 to 2 minute video, we can show in between our podcasts during editing, so that people can view it. I will get USOSA, the PRO or the SecGen, to send a letter out to you. This is just a new development, but over the last few years, it's been straight from pocket, pro bono, you would say, literally. You know, we want to get to a point where we probably have a pro Unitate radio station, a pro Unitate TV, because USOSANs are excelling all over the world. It's a statement of fact. We have our members in key places, and we hope that we can keep celebrating our successes while improving our nation as well. So for the audience, we have YouTube channels. We have the Pro Unitate YouTube channel. We have the TNN channel. We encourage you guys to watch our podcast. Click on the share button, click on the like, subscribe, so that we can get some funding also from YouTube. We're on Facebook, we're on LinkedIn. Every little helps. It's almost over an hour now, and you are busy. I know you have to run to another meeting. Just give USOSANs or give the young ones one last word of encouragement, people who want to aspire to be like you.
Well, thank you, David. There is nothing to say other than, first of all, aspire to be an USOSAN right from young age. Once you get to USOSA, that already everything has already been programmed by our those who created the USOSA. So you work hard, be competitive, be a true Nigerian, be a very good global citizen, a very good ambassador of the Unitate, course, and I am very sure you are going to excel. Like you have said quite rightly, so many people who went through FGCs, even the ones you don't know, they pass through the Unitate example. So I believe the project should be sustained, and the call is for us to do everything, those of us who are the alumni now, to ensure that whatever it is we have enjoyed, generations yet to come will also enjoy. Like I have told you, my own children have passed through the same. Yeah. And I expect that they will also pass the story to their to my grandchildren. And so USUSA is the place to be. If you are in Nigeria, if you are not USUSA, I believe you have lost a lot. So I thank you again, David, for having me. And like I asked you the last question, we will see what we can do, to be able to help. And of course, I'll look forward to that other example where we can showcase Abdulkadir Kure University on your podcast and other programs that you have. So we will keep the relationship going, and hopefully it will only grow from strength to strength. Thank you very much, and I expect that I again salute you for the courage and taking your initiative to spend money. Whatever little we can do from time to time, we will try to do it to keep the spirit of SUSA alive. Thank you very much.
Absolutely grateful. Absolutely grateful. We'll let you get on with your day. I'll keep in touch, and once the program is edited, we'll make sure that you get a copy.
Thank you so much, David.
Have a good evening, Professor.
And you too, David. Thank you, and bye.
Bye for now.